Hello guys, it's Robbie here and welcome everyone in this new backtesting video. And in this backtesting session, I'm going to backtest GU today. And actually the exact day will be 20th of June, London session. And as you can see, it will be on GBPUSD. So yeah, let's start everything with the news because it is really important to check the news before every single trading session. And you can see that we do not have any high impact news during that day, not even a New York session. So it's safe to trade. So we can safely approach the market. There will be no high impact news that can manage to do some unexpected movement. So we do not have any high impact news. We can analyze the market. So let's start everything on the daily time frame. What happened on the daily time frame? Well, since last year's September, yeah, price has reached the really low point right here. It was almost 1.000, but it wasn't. But after price has reached this low point, price has started to reverse back to the upside. And technically, the daily has changed character here to the upside. And ever since this daily change of character, price reacting on demand areas over and over again, made new breakout structure to the upside. Price returned back to the extreme of the structure breaking movement. After that, another breakout structure happened. Price printed really nice volume movements to the upside, broke structure over and over again. And after this breakout structure, price returned back to this demand area. And after this demand area, it couldn't really manage to do a new breakout structure. But after that, it has swept some liquidity from this region with this movement. And after this liquidity sweep, price has made a new breakout structure to the upside. And there was the previous swing breakout structure to the upside on the daily time frame. This swing breakout structure right here has happened directly from this demand area. Here is a daily demand area which has caused really nice volume candles, and we can mark this demand out because technically price reacted on this daily demand area, and after this daily demand area, as you can see, price has made a new swing breakout structure right here. And after this swing breakout structure, we can expect a smaller pullback to the downside, a pullback to the downside, and after this pullback, we can definitely expect continuation to the upside, and we can expect a new breakout structure right here. Technically, this is how the daily time frame looks like. This is how the daily time frame works currently. We are in a bullish trend on the daily time frame, and we can expect continuation to the upside, but we have a chance to see a pullback to the downside before it makes a continuation to the upside. But we will see how the 4-hour and 15-minute time frame looks like. So the main point is that we can mark out is this daily demand area, and price reacted on this daily demand and caused a new breakout structure to the upside. We can mark this breakout structure too, and technically these are the last recent movements on the daily time frame. So let's take a look on the 4-hour time frame, what happened on the 4-hour time frame. But before we check the 4-hour time frame, let's take a look if price maybe reacted on something here. Technically, it seemed like a daily sell to buy candle. Let's see if it flips something, but actually no, there wasn't any demand zone mitigation, so this is not a really valuable zone at all. But above this daily sell to buy candle, we have a daily supply area which has a really great chance to reverse the price to the downside. So we can mark this zone out, but currently it's really far away from the current price action region, so it's not really valuable for us currently, but we can definitely expect bullish movements up to this daily supply area on the long term. So yeah, let's take a look on the 4-hour time frame. I believe on the 4-hour time frame there wasn't any supply zone mitigation, but let's check this first. Actually, price probably made a full zone mitigation on this 4-hour supply area. So I have marked the top of the high point, occur at high point, and technically price has made a full zone mitigation on this 4-hour area, but technically this area is just a simple stop in the market. Nothing really happened at this point. There wasn't any demand zone mitigation, so it's not a flip zone. Price has just simply reacted on a simple 4-hour stop in the market, and we can definitely expect long movements to the upside. So yeah, let's take a look at the current price action and let's analyze the 4-hour time frame. What happened on the 4-hour time frame? Well, there was our daily swing breakout structure to the upside, and this daily swing breakout structure has actually happened from this wick zone right here. We have a valuable 4-hour wick zone area, which has caused the swing breakout structure to the upside with really nice volume movement. After this swing breakout structure, price has made a small pullback to the downside, probably reacted on a 15-minute demand, and after this demand mitigation, price has made a new breakout structure here, which has happened from this demand area. So we can mark this demand out too. And also this zone will be our last recent demand area on the 4-hour time frame. And everything above right here is efficient. We do not have any inefficient demand area at all. And we can safely expect pullback to the downside, and actually it seems like a really good plan. So a slow pullback to the downside, mitigation of this demand area. If the mitigation of this demand area happens, we can wait for 15-minute change of character. If it happens, we can wait for 1-minute confirmations, and we can target this high point, and we can expect the new breakout structure on the higher time frame right here. Or because of the extremely strong bullish trend on the 4-hour time frame, if there will be any valuable demand areas, 15-minute demand areas, we can definitely expect confirmation entries on them. If it happens, then we can expect long continuations to the upside. However, if valuable demand zones are failing, then we will be able to look sells to valuable demand areas. But let's see if there was any supply zone mitigation first on the 4-hour time frame. And actually there was a 4-hour supply, as you can see, this one. Let's see if there was any 15-minute area that has managed to make a break of this supply area. So there was a 4-hour supply zone, and as you can see, price just broken through it without any hesitation on the 4-hour time frame. So probably we will have 15-minute demand areas at this point. And technically that's all. This is what can be expected on the 4-hour time frame: a 15-minute order flow to the downside, mitigation of this demand. If this demand mitigation happens, we can wait for 15-minute change of character, and after the 15-minute change of character, we can expect long continuations on the newly formed 15-minute demand area. Or if this zone fails, then we can take shorts to the next demand area. And probably if this zone fails, then we can definitely expect a bigger pullback to the downside. And the reason why this zone is valuable in this case, because it has caused the previous swing breakout structure with really nice volume movement. So yeah, technically that's all what can be expected on the 4-hour time frame. We can drop down to the 15-minute time frame, and let's see what happened on the 15-minute time frame. But first, let me play price forward a bit, because session will start with the next candle. So yeah, what happened on the 15-minute time frame? Well, on the 15-minute time frame, there was a 4-hour supply zone mitigation, right? So I mark this 4-hour supply zone out, and technically we can identify 2 demand areas inside of this circle. The higher demand in this case has caused the break of the 4-hour demand, and this 15-minute demand has insane amount of liquidity above it. And because of this insane amount of liquidity, as you can see, we can definitely expect possible confirmation entry on this demand area. And also this reversal to the downside right here is really pullbacky, really slow. Price building up insane amount of liquidity on the upside. So technically the whole upside is just liquidity for the longs. And yeah, this is a really corrective pullback to the downside based on the 15-minute time frame. And price has just built up insane amount of liquidity for this demand area. So we can definitely expect a new confirmation entry here. And probably we can target this high point right here with our swing target, but we will find closer target areas, target levels at this point if a long confirmation entry shows up right here on the 1-minute time frame. Below this demand area, there is another 15-minute demand, which is technically the extreme of the 4-hour supply breaking movement. So as you can see here, the mitigation happened. And after this mitigation, price has reacted a bit. But after this reaction, price had just broken through this 4-hour supply area. And the break directly happened from the last recent demand area. But the origin of the breaking movement on this 4-hour supply zone has started, and it has been initiated from the lower demand area. So we can wait for confirmation entries here on these demand areas. If the lower demand fails, then we can definitely expect the bearish continuation to the downside, and we will probably fill up this huge inefficiency right here, because this is just a really nice inefficient movement to the upside. So yeah, these are the plans technically, but currently at this moment I am really I have really nice and really much confidence for this setup right here. So a confirmation on the last recent demand area is really possible because of this huge liquidity pool just above it, but we will see. Also, we can technically ride this bearish pullback to the downside too, and currently price flip this zone to the upside. After that, built up some liquidity, but it has been swept out with this movement. Currently price technically just building up liquidity on the upside. We do not have really nice clear bearish movements at this point. Probably there was a flip zone mitigation, but let me check it on the 5-minute time frame. But first, let me mark this 15-minute demand out. As you can see, this 15-minute demand was the last recent demand that has caused the breakout structure here. After this last 15-minute breakout structure, price has started the reversal to the downside. And here was a break of this 15-minute demand area. So price technically reacted on this weak supply area that has caused the break of this demand. As you can see, there was a really nice body break below it. And everything below this demand was just pure liquidity. And this liquidity has been technically swept out, but with the sweeping movements right here, technically price built up more liquidity for the demand below. So this is the reason why I'm still expecting confirmation entry here. Also, let me mark this weak zone out, because price reacted on it after the break of the last demand area. So there was a break, all right. And yeah, technically this was liquidity right here. This liquidity has been swept with this movement, mitigated a small percent of the weak supply area, and after that, technically price has started a bearish movement to the downside, but it couldn't manage to do a swing breakout structure here to the downside. The best possible scenario would be the instant liquidity sweep, close above this line right here, which means that we do not have a new breakout structure in this case. And if a 15-minute candle can manage to close above this zone, then we will have a freeway up to this high point right here, and we can definitely expect the sweep of this liquidity but we will see currently the last recent unmitigated area. We can't really find any unmitigated area right here. This whole movement is efficient. Every inefficient area has been filled up. As you can see, there was a supply zone mitigation, there was a supply zone mitigation, and also there was a supply zone mitigation, but this supply is not really valuable because it is lacking inefficiency in this case. But we do not have any inefficient area at this point. If a confirmation entry happens here, we can definitely target probably this liquidity pool, but with a swing target, we can target this high point right here for a swing break or structure on the 4-hour time frame. So yeah, let's see what do we have on the 5-minute time frame, but just a quick summary about the plans that we can looking for. So confirmation entry on the last recent demand area. If it happens, then we can safely take longs, targeting liquidity pools in this case. If the last recent demand area can manage to give us a confirmation entry, then we can wait for confirmation entry on the lower demand, which is our extreme of the 4-hour supply breaking movement. But if this zone fails right here, then we can expect the continuation of the bearish order flow. And if the break of this demand area happens, then we won't have any demand area at this point that can manage to hold the price probably until it mitigates the 4-hour demand area. So these are the plans technically. And let's see the 5-minute time frame. I am pretty confident about the sweep of this liquidity. And yeah, let's take a look on the 5-minute time frame. What do we have on the 5-minute time frame? On the 5-minute time frame, actually, this 5-minute demand has caused a nice break. 5-minute supply right here caused a nice breakout structure to the downside too. And on the 5-minute time frame, technically, we can mark the whole zone out, whole candle out, because the whole candle was the inefficiency starter. There wasn't any inefficiency. As you can see, the wick filled up the inefficiency for this wick, but there is inefficiency. So in this case, we could mark the whole candle out. We can still stick to the 15-minute wick. It doesn't really matter currently. But if we mark the 5-minute candle out, you can see that it was a 50% mitigation. And after that, technically, we can't really identify any valuable supply at this movement at all. So this is just a huge liquidity pool. So yeah. And I'm really expecting longs to the upside after the 15-minute demand mitigation, but let's see what happens. This is just pure liquidity right here, but technically this whole movement is just a pure liquidity pool for the longs. So yeah, we do not have any difference on the 5-minute time frame. No, there is no difference at all. Technically the 5-minute and 15-minute time frame is exactly the same. So yeah, we are sticking to the 15-minute plans. And let's see what happens in this session. We can drop down to the 1-minute time frame and we can play price forward. Bear with me a bit. All right. So let's see what happens in this session and let's play price forward. So here we go. Mitigation of the 15-minute demand happened, as you can see, and price immediately reacted to the upside. And if a break of this high point happens with a wick break would be perfectly enough because we are on the 1-minute time frame. And if we have a wick break above this high point, we will have a change of character. So this is our character changing point right here. Let's see if it happens. And you can see that it happened with a really nice body break. So there is literally no doubt about it. A change of character happened. Also, we can identify this 1-minute supply right here. And technically, after this change of character movement, also I believe the 15-minute candle will close above this high point, above this low point, sorry. So as you can see, this was a literally perfect liquidity sweeping movement. And if I switch to the 5-minute time frame, you can see that this is a perfect liquidity sweeping candle. This is a textbook example of a liquidity sweeping candle. Price left behind a huge wick, swept all of this liquidity into this 15-minute demand area. And after the sweep of this liquidity, after the mitigation of this demand area, price V-shapedly reacted and changed the character to the upside. So technically, we can count the criteria because we have an entry opportunity. So let's see. Let's count the criteria. The first criteria is the higher time frame zone mitigation. The second one is the liquidity take. Technically, the whole downside was liquidity, which has been built up for the last recent 15-minute demand area. And technically, here is inefficiency. Everything up below it is efficient. Here, inefficiency. And we have inefficiency right here too. But let me play a candle forward, and you can find really nice and really clear inefficiency right here, which means we have two possible entry points. This is the first one. This is our decisional zone, which has caused also the flip in this case, because here was the last recent 1-minute supply area. Here is the reactional candle, and after this reaction, here is the reaction. So 1-minute candle closed here. After that, reached the new low point here. As you can see, this was the reaction, and after that, price has broke above it. So this is also a flip, not just a simple change of character. And the flip has happened from this demand area, and also we have an extreme zone, which was the inefficiency starter character changing movement. It was the origin of the character changing movement to the upside. So in this case, we have a decisional and extreme zone. Perfect. So we have four. We already have 3 basic criteria, and technically we are still in a approach trend. The 4-hour time frame is extremely strong, extremely bullish, and I don't want to take a look on the 4-hour time frame because it would spoiler the whole movement. But if you take a look on the 1-minute time frame, and if I zoom out, then technically this is just an insanely strong 4-hour structure to the upside, insanely strong 4-hour trend to the upside. But yeah, 4-hour trend is extremely bullish, so that's why we can count the pro trend criteria. Even though we are in a really corrective pullback on the 15-minute time frame, we are prioritizing longs over shorts because the 4-hour time frame is still bullish, and that's why we can count the 4-hour. That's why we can count the pro trend criteria in this case. So we have all the 4 base criteria that we need. We can add our variable ones. The first variable one is the change of character, which is also a flip in this case. Perfect. V-shaped recovery. This was an insane V-shaped recovery after the sweep of this liquidity and after the mitigation of this demand area. So we have V-shaped recovery. There wasn't any supply zone. Literally, there isn't. We can't find any supply at this point because this whole area is efficient. We do not have any inefficient area, and price is not coming from any opposite sided zone in this case, so it would be our 7th criteria. The 50% mitigation currently missing on this 15-minute demand area, but GU tends to not mitigate 50%. So it wouldn't be necessary for the price to mitigate the 50% of the zone. However, if this zone fails, we can still expect a 50% mitigation. And after a 50% mitigation, if price can manage to confirm this 15-minute demand area, it would be still valid because the 50% mitigation is still not happened, but GU tends to not mitigate 50% of the higher time frame areas. So in this case, the 50% mitigation is missing. It's not there. It's missing, right? So we can count it. corrective pullback strong pro movements. We can take a look on the movements on the 1 minute time frame. Technically, the bearish movements are stronger, but remember, what do we have on the 15-minute time frame? Technically, the 15-minute movements are still stronger than the bearish ones. However, it's not that clear. So since this pullback has started, since this point, after the pullback has started, it's not that clear. There is no doubt about it. It's a bit questionable, but we can still count it because the bullish movements are still a bit stronger than the bearish ones, but it's not that clear that it should be. So yeah, in this case, I will count it, but it's debatable. So yeah, this is our 8th criteria: corrective pullback, strong pro movement. There is insane amount of liquidity target on the upside. So this is just liquidity, and technically the whole upside is just a huge liquidity pool on the 15-minute time frame, which has been built up for our future longs. And here is our future long confirmation right here, and we have a really great chance to be tagged in on one of these areas. So yeah, it would be our 9 criteria. So we have already 9 criteria for each zone, and technically we have combined liquidation for the extreme zone because the decisional will function as liquidity in itself for the extreme area. So technically we have 10 criteria for the extreme, and we have 9 criteria for the decisional zone. And both of these criteria are enough for me in order to set entry, buy orders, buy limits on these areas. So in this case, I will use a risk split entry on the decision and extreme area. Once again, the corrective pullback strong pro movement criteria is a bit debatable. If you are backtesting this exact same session, and if you are not counting the corrective pullback strong pro movement criteria, it's not a problem. But personally, I am trying out a bit more aggressive method on the market. So that's why I will use a risk split order in this case, because I'm just testing out a bit more aggressive method on the market, because most of the times I'm approaching the market a bit too safely. So that's the reason why I am making these more aggressive entries in these backtesting sessions. So here we will use risk split entry, and let's see what happens. Let's see if we can cover the zone. Yeah, actually I will use 3 pips on the decision with 50% mitigation, 50% entry, and probably we can target this high point right here, which would be actually a really nice target level. And for me, this 1 to 9.2 risk reward ratio would be more than enough, and I would be more than satisfied with it. And let's set a unit order in the extreme too, probably with the same 3P stop loss at the 50% of the zone. And I will use the 50% because I don't want to use a bigger stop loss than 3 pips. And as you can see, 3 pips, if I try to enter on the full zone, the 3 pips wouldn't cover the whole zone. So that's the reason why I'm sticking to the 50%. And let's see what happens. Let's play price forward and let's hope for the best. But there is a problem, which would be actually price almost hit my original TP level and actually created really nice double tops right here. But in this case, I would probably delete the orders because price has just went too far away from my entry points, and probably there is a higher time frame zone on the 5-minute and probably on the 15-minute time frame too. That can be possible higher time frame zone, and in this case, these orders right here would be a bit more riskier than after this change of character. So let's see, but let me play price forward a bit more because I don't want to spoiler the price action. All right, let's take a look on the 15-minute time frame. What happened on the 15-minute time frame? As you can see, price almost hit my final TP, the high point right here, which has caused the mitigation on this 5-minute supply beforehand. And you can see a really nice reaction to the upside right here, which also led the price into a change of character here. So we have a newly formed 15-minute demand area right here. Probably we will be able to find 5-minute areas too, which is right. Technically, here is the first one. And if we take a look here, technically on the 5-minute time frame, there was a change of character to the upside. And after this change of character, price returned back to this demand area, which has been broken, but the overall low point hasn't been broken, swept the liquidity, and technically made a 5-minute breakout structure here to the upside. So technically on the 5-minute time frame, there was a breakout structure, price left behind a newly formed 5-minute area. Here is our 5-minute demand area. And technically here is a higher 5-minute demand area that has caused another breakout structure here to the upside. And yeah. So probably, and actually, I believe I had a buy limit on the extreme during live trading when I managed this session, and I believe I deleted my orders after it almost hit my TP level because I was targeting this exact same target. And yeah, actually after price has formed two valuable higher time frame areas, I would probably delete these orders, and this is how I will do too. So yeah, unfortunately here I had two no tags. Price couldn't really manage to mitigate the decision, neither the extreme zone, and currently we have two new higher time frame areas. So we have new plans. If price can manage to mitigate any of these areas, which actually happened, so the last recent demand mitigation happened. If price can manage to do a breakout structure, we can try to enter on the 1-minute area, probably with liquidity creation because there wasn't liquidity for the last recent demand area. Or if price flips this zone and mitigates this 5-minute demand area, which also lines up with the 15-minute weak demand and changes character on the 1-minute time frame, we can expect long continuations to the upside. But if price flips this zone, then we can still expect a deeper mitigation here. And probably after a deeper mitigation, if it can manage to do any confirmation entry, we will see a mitigation on the next demand area. So yeah, let's see what happens. We can play price forward. Price mitigated 50% of the newly formed 5-minute demand. But it's building up liquidity. So technically this whole movement is just liquidity pool for the lower demand area. Let me check the 5-minute time frame. But technically the 5-minute time frame is just a liquidity pool. There is liquidity on the upside, perfect liquidity pool. And everything about this liquidity will be just liquidity. So it's a bit messy. Yeah. I'm expecting a mitigation of the lower demand. So let's see what happens. All right, there is 1 more minute until 10:30. So we can check the 15-minute time frame. On the 15-minute time frame, what happened? Technically nothing interesting. Price is inside of that substructure. This is the low point, this is the high point on the 15-minute time frame. So the best scenario in this case to wait for confirmation entry on this 5-minute demand area. If it happens, then we can take longs, expecting a sweep of this liquidity. We can target this high, this double tops as our longs with our longs, or we can expect the flip of this zone. And probably if the flip of this 5-minute demand happens, we will see a mitigation of the lower demand. But a deeper mitigation on this last recent 50-minute demand is still possible. So yeah, technically this is the main plan that I'm waiting for. If price can manage to do a new breakout structure, then on the newly formed demand area, we can look for longs once again. So yeah, let's play price forward. Half of the session has already passed. There is still no demand mitigation, but price building up really nice liquidity on the upside. This is really nice liquidity creation on the upside for our future longs. And we have a demand mitigation. All right. As you can see, the decision zone would have been fallen. So price hasn't mitigated, hasn't reacted at all on this decision zone. If we kept our limit here, then it would instantly hit our stop loss, probably with a really small slippage, because price hasn't made any wick in these movements. This was just a literally free fall to the downside. But price seems like reacted on the extreme zone. No, actually it hasn't mitigated, it did not mitigate it. But we have a really nice reaction after the 5-minute demand mitigation. And if price can manage to change character here to the upside, this is the last recent high point that has caused breakout structure here, we can look for longs. So let me mark it out. All right, change of character, perfect. Let's see if it happens. No, price couldn't manage to do a change of character to the upside. And this won't be an entry opportunity because we do not have change of character. Let's see what happens. Price has made perfect double bottoms right here. This is just perfect double bottoms, which probably built up for the extreme zone, but I'm still expecting confirmation entry in this case. And the change of character line is still there. So yeah, change of character still not happened. This is just liquidity. Price technically inside of this 1-minute substructure. This is just substructure movement. I do not want to enter into anything inside of that movement. More liquidity built up, and unfortunately we have 15 minutes left from this session. Liquidity has been swept out, and price has mitigated the extreme 1-minute area, reacted on it, but it wasn't strong enough to hold the price, and price is just melting to the downside, and probably it will mitigate the lower region of the 15-minute demand area, but the session has already closed right here. This was the last candle of the session here. So yeah, technically that was this backtesting session. We had 2 no tags on this decision and the extreme zone after the liquidity sweep into this 15-minute demand area, and price has changed character with really nice V-shaped recovery. I have counted the criteria. I explained my thought process, what was my thought process, and yeah, that's all, guys. I really hope you will like this backtesting video. Marcel has uploaded it to you, so yeah, I have recorded it on Tuesday, not Wednesday night. So yeah, take care, guys, and have a nice rest of the weekend, and see you guys on Monday. So yeah, take care, and hello, guys.